tout le monde. J'espère que le son est bon parce que je suis chez moi et je suis pas avec mes écouteurs, je suis avec mon casque. Donc je verrai le son à la fin de la vidéo. Du coup, on va regarder le dernier stream de Into the Light. Vous allez voir ma réaction et je vais essayer de vous traduire comme les 2 autres semaines ce qu'ils disent. Je suis un peu en retard, donc on va rattraper ça.
Hello everyone and welcome back.
Bon,
It's good to see you all.
déjà,
Welcome to
infection
our
parfaite
third of
sur le
3
bureau.
developer live
Alors
streams
déjà,
to talk
j'aimerais bien
about all the cool
l'avoir
stuff
dans
coming
ma
out
chambre
with Destiny
exposée.
2 Into the
On sait
Light.
que cette mission
My name's
revient
Andy.
et
I
je suis
work on the social
content
media team here at
parce
Bungie.
que
We've got
c'est
an
ma
awesome
mission
set
préférée,
of topics to go ahead and
c'est
cover
ma
today.
mission
But
secrète
first
préférée.
things first, we wanted to go ahead and remind you guys of one clarification we made. For starters, all of the weapons in the Brave Arsenal will now be releasing on April 30th. So
Ouais, donc
just as a quick reminder, all those weapons will be available
là,
for
ils
you
sont
to
en train de
farm
dire que
over the course of Onslaught.
toutes les
There's
armes sont
many ways with
disponibles
which you can go
à
about it.
partir
For
du
starters,
30
obviously, you can
avril
go ahead and attune
dans le mode de jeu.
yourself to a
Il l'avait
weapon
dit dans
facility.
le
You want to go ahead and grab
dans le TWAB.
that recluse that you've had your eye on for so long. You've got the opportunity to go ahead and do that over
Si
the course
l'infection
of
parfaite elle est
Onslaught.
craftable avec
Also, there's
triple
going to be a
tap
chest
ou la
up by
quatrième c'est la
Shaxx
bonne,
as well, so you can go ahead and farm some
ça va être pas
additional
mal
rolls
ça.
there. But worry not, you'll have plenty of chances to dive in, grab the weapons you want, whether it be through our site's quest lines or otherwise. Those opportunities will be wide open and available. But we have a whole new set of topics to discuss today, including some reprised exotic missions, a look at the PvP map pack, and a couple more details at the end that we'll go ahead and share with you in just a bit. But as usual, it won't just be me talking through it. So let's go ahead and tell you about the wonderful folks I have here just to my left, some incredible developers here at Bungie. We'll go ahead and start with the gentleman here to my left, friend of the show, one and only Mr. Tom Farnsworth, senior
Bon,
design lead
lui
here
on
at
sait qui c'est
Bungie.
du
Tom,
coup.
welcome back.
I'm back. I keep bringing me back.
I know, come on, you're the best. We couldn't possibly let you go.
No, of course, I'm the creative lead for Into the Light, but we're really here to talk about all the great work the team has done and these individuals here with us today. And we're going to talk about some exotic missions,
Yes.
some rewards associated with them, and some PvP stuff. So let's dive in. Let's talk to everybody else here.
Great stuff. We also have, now sitting just next to Tom as well, we have Rob Adams, one of the art directors
Ah,
here
mais
at
il a
Bungie,
Trevor sur
and
son
kind of
t-shirt,
the
le
person
robot
helped
de
come
la
up
mission
with the
Infection Parfaite.
concept of Into the Light. Rob, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Lui, je sais
Yeah,
plus
no,
qui
it's
c'est.
good to have you. We
Par
have a
contre.
lot of fun stuff. We were talking
Et
before the show about a lot
le
of cool
mec
stuff. We'll have plenty of fun
asiatique, je
details
sais
to
pas
dive
qui c'est non
into
plus, je
here
l'ai
in
jamais
just a
vu.
little bit.
Mais il
And
fait
of
trop
course,
sérieux.
the one and only Willie Chang, activity designer here at Bungie. How you doing, Willie? Good morning.
I'm doing well.
For the folks at home that may not be familiar with you,
Putain, il
or
rigole
your
pas.
work, what do you do here at Bungie, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm an activity designer for Into the Light. I worked on the 0 Hour reprise.
Excellent. Well,
Oh!
with that, we
Il vient de le confirmer, dernière
a lot of
heure,
cool stuff to start with. In addition to,
reprise, là.
you mentioned some
Donc là,
awesome reprised exotic missions, including
mission Exo
the
revient.
Whisper and 0 Hour.
Ouais, ils viennent de confirmer là à l'instant que la mission du Whisper, elle revient aussi.
But let's go ahead and start at the top with the Whisper. We've had a chance to go ahead and kind of pull back the curtain and look behind the scenes a little bit. Let's go ahead and start from the very top. Rob, you were there when it all started. Why did Bungie make the Whisper to begin with?
Well, I think in the first few months of D2, I want to say like the first 3 to 5 months, we felt like there weren't enough secrets in the game. It felt like the game was pretty well known, you know, and kind of like discovered. And it just needed some big secret to be found by the players. And we thought that that would excite our community quite a bit. Like it would just go over really well. We hoped it would at least.
Yeah.
And we had all this nostalgia for the Vault of Glass and Black Spindle. I mean, one day we were just sitting in a conference room and we're like, what if we just made another Black Spindle mission, but we made it a lot bigger, right?
Speaking of, we've got here on screen kind of some, if we can call it as such, original concept art, you'd say, for the Whisper?
Yeah, it's concept art.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here?
Well, that's actually the very first whiteboard drawing when we got all excited and we ran and found a conference room and we started, you know, drawing what this could do, what we would want to build. And really, this kind of shows some of the magic formula. You know, like we had a contract, really, that we called it a contract. And this was an unspoken agreement between us as devs and the hardcore, super engaged players.
Yeah.
And it really was, if you can pass a test where your mind is going to be tested, your fighting, right?
Yeah.
Is going to be tested, and you're going to be able to pass these tests, right?
Yeah.
Your movement, your mind, your fighting.
Yeah.
If you can get past these tests, you're going to be rewarded with great power.
Yeah.
And that was the contract. And so one of the other things we did, and you can see it up here in the upper left, is there's a little crack, and then the path continues. And that, that's the red herring. And so we thought, well, rather than lead players by the nose and have a bunch of narrative and make it really obvious what you're supposed to do, what if they get into this mysterious place and they don't know what to do? And when they go down the path that they think is right, it's not. And they go blazing right past the actual opening. And so we knew we were pretty confident that was going to appeal to the hardcore players, because once they learned the path, they could then bring their friends in and show them, and then we would have the videos, with the walkthrough, and it would just appeal to
as they let their friends go first that first time to watch them fall off the edge helplessly. Also, too, is to kind of focus a little bit more on the art direction as well. I think, to put it lightly, the vibe in The Whisper is pretty intense. Can you tell us what it was like, kind of imagining that space and bringing it to life?
Yeah, well, we wanted this like intense mystery vibe, right? The mystery of I'm on IO and I found this place that I've never seen, I didn't know existed. And where does it go, right? In that mystery, and also the feeling of dread. And so,
a lot of that.
And it's easy to get a vibe if you listen to one type of music.
C'est pas grand chose à dire là parce qu'ils sont juste en train de dire
ouais,
on a fait ça parce que il y avait ça et quand on l'a fait, on voulait que vous ressentiez ça. Pas très intéressant, sachant que la mission du coup je l'ai déjà faite il y a 5 ans du coup, non plus.
There was a really cool anecdote.
Non mais sérieux, les gars, stop les.
What was it like bringing this kind of very iconic, I guess I'd say, Destiny room to life?
Yeah, well, this is funny because there was this thing that we wanted to try, right? Make a room that has a trap in the center, that if you mess up, you end up going down the trap and you get punished for it. And when you get out, you end up back in the room. And it just happens again and again and again. And there's all these different ways that you try to find your way out of this room.
Je me demande s'ils vont changer le chemin ou si ce sera exactement pareil. J'aimerais bien que ce soit exactement pareil quand même. Pour apprendre aux nouveaux.
We brought it into the playtest lab. We had Cosmo and Dylan. We had a bunch of our testers and designers in there. And I just waited, right? And I waited for someone to find the hidden shortcut, right? Like what's going to happen when they find that hidden shortcut? And so the first person that found it, they just screamed and started laughing, and then everybody started finding it, and based on that reaction, we knew we had something good, and then it got scaled up into what you see here, and back to the vibe thing again. When this got built, all I did was listen to Black Sabbath, the first 6 albums, like over and over. So it just has that really consistent vibe all the way through. That's just a trick that the whole team uses to get.
Le mec asiatique à se tenir comme ça, putain, moi je peux pas.
We're going to go ahead also too and start to jump in the activity.
Moi ça me fait mal.
See this vibe up close and personal as well. But here we are. We're back in The Whisper as well. Really quickly too, off the top, Willie, when it comes to bringing these encounters forward, bringing them to the modern era of Destiny,
non, montrez pas
what were some of the bigger challenges that you'd say you have to overcome in order to make sure that they were fitting for today's sandbox?
Yeah, so sandbox-wise,
montrez pas la mission, montrez pas tout. Je veux l'apprendre aux nouveaux joueurs.
People can clear entire rooms of ads from these activities back when they were in their original state. Just like extremely quickly. So we had to beef up the number of combatants that are in these encounters, and later on I might talk more about additional tuning that I've done.
Ah, par contre, ils ont modifié apparemment les mobs qui allaient spawn. En vrai, c'est pas mal parce que maintenant ça va être super simple s'ils laissent juste les corrompus de merde.
But we've made some changes to that as well. I think you were mentioning before we hopped on the air.
Ah, par contre, on a une demi-heure. Non, on n'avait que 20 minutes. En fil obscur, ça va. Ce passage, tout le monde va traverser de l'autre côté.
The team was excited about having a new, benefactor, a new character that you go and talk to. So you'll be talking to Eris Morn. Eris Morn is going to tell you some really cool stuff. I don't want to give it away.
Smart,
But you're not going to have to deal with the frustrating trigger to get in anymore.
Ah, maintenant apparemment on n'aura pas à faire les.
Especially, if people are going to come back in here multiple times
Quoi?
as they kind of build up their craftable exotics.
Oui, une plateforme qui quoi?
Also, too, is I think it's worth mentioning that this is.
Et du coup, apparemment, pour y accéder, on devra parler à Iris Morn.
For the veteran players who are coming in here, folks like myself that have maybe kind of had a lot of this committed to memory, how have you gone ahead and made sure that it's fresh for those veteran guardians out there?
Yeah, well, the goal was how is this going to be exactly what you just said, right? Like if I've played this 10, 15, 20 times, I've guided people through, maybe I've made a video about how to get through here. How's it going to speak to me, right? Like what's going to be cool for me to go in and do it again? And that was the goal that the team had. And when we knew we were going to do this, I made my own list, right? Like I was like, we're going to change this, we're going to move that, and I was really excited about it.
Yeah.
So Tom was in this meeting. So I show up, and there's like 15, 20 people, and they presented this whole plan, and I had my list all ready to go, and I was going to wait. I was going to listen to all the proposal and everything, and then start giving ideas and stuff. And when they finally finished presenting this plan for how to update this thing, I just deleted my list. It was way bigger and way cooler than anything that I'd come up with.
Yeah.
It was just so neat to see like a fresh take on it. So if you think you know where the chests are, if you think you know where all the secrets are, if you think you know where all the surprises are, get down.
Apparemment, ils ont changé
all those old guides and
les emplacements des coffres et tout. J'espère que le vaisseau corrompu, on pourra pas l'obtenir. Parce que moi, je l'ai de l'époque. Il y a tout le monde qui est en mode ah, j'adore ton vaisseau. Comment on l'obtient et tout. Ah bah, tu peux plus l'obtenir. Ah putain, dommage, je suis trop jaloux, il est trop stylé. Les gars, je suis un vétéran. Je garde mon vaisseau.
Also, too, are there any other changes that you guys are particularly excited about when it comes to the Whisper? We're going to move on to 0 Hour here in a little bit, but before we conclude our journey here, Willie, actually on your side, are there any changes in particular that you're excited about with this updated version?
I'm excited about the way that the boss fight has changed for this activity.
Interesting.
Non, j'aimerais bien qu'il ne montre pas plus. Ouais, voilà, merci.
When it comes to the launch day of the Whisper, but yes, this is a first look for the folks out there who are looking to go ahead and make sure that they're ready on day one to go ahead and add another craftable exotic into their collection.
Le Whisper sera craftable.
Whisper is going to be there for you. Voilà. We don't want to spoil all of it. You'll have it in your hands soon enough. And also, some folks out there have already had a chance to play it, so we don't want to go ahead and uncover too many of the mysteries. Up next, we've also got, obviously, another iconic one, 0 Hour. Let's start from the top. Can you explain, Rob, the concept behind Trevor? You've obviously got an homage to him on your...
I have my shirt. Yeah,
voilà,
absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about what this original concept was?
So Trevor was really inspired by this. There's this Japanese game show called Takeshi's Castle, and it's been around a while. And it's great because it has all these physical challenges and people getting knocked down or flipped over and stuff and trying to get through things. And there's just a lot of comparisons to what we try to do in Destiny, and we've borrowed from that show and shows like it for a long time for cool ideas. And they have this one bit where the contestants try to get up this hill, and there's this big fake boulder that comes down the hill, right? And there's these little like side rooms, like little pockets that they can try to get into. And so we were like, man, if we had something like that in the middle of this mission, that would be amazing, right? Like, and so we had this thing that we called, there it is.
Yeah, we got some concept art up on the screen now.
So we had this thing that we called the hazard for a long time. The hazard is going to get you, right? And it's going to come down at you. And on the left, you can see the original whiteboard drawing of what this could look like. And there you see the hill with the slots.
Yeah.
We basically lifted off of Takeshi's Castle.
Yeah.
And then that evolved into what we eventually made as a maze,
yeah.
Right? And then there's the very first drawing of Trevor. And on the right, you can see a concept art by one of our artists named Fan Gao.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked at it, it had a bit of a vacuum cleaner look. It didn't quite nail the fear.
Sure.
Which we might talk about in a second here.
Oh, yeah.
So then on the far right, you can see the centipede legs and the light and the final revision. That's pretty close to how Trevor ended up.
Yeah, it definitely it feels terrifyingly familiar in some ways, we'll say.
Yeah.
And I, kind of while we're on the legs,
Good job, Tom.
which brings up honestly another great example I'd love to touch on as well is, as a guardian myself, we've felled gods, we've fought some of the most difficult battles in the universe, whether it's against our fellow guardian or the many foes that set foot inside the solar system. When it comes to Trevor in particular, it elicits a very primal, sincere fear. How did you guys kind of elicit that from players who have obviously conquered so much?
Well, I think there's this satisfaction from scaring people that's inherent in everybody. We've all scared somebody, I think, at some point. It's just super fun, right?
Yep.
So what could we do in Destiny to actually make people feel fear? And the team was super excited about how to try to tackle that problem. Because you're right? Like Guardians can just jump away and we kill everything and we're just gods.
Invisible and dodge away.
Yeah, exactly.
To do it, yeah.
So how do you scare our players in the game, right? So the first step was drop you in a maze.
Yeah.
There's something in there that you cannot kill. You can't jump up because the ceiling is just above your head, right?
Yeah.
So those were the first three things. This thing is faster than you.
Yeah.
So you know you're in there with something
ça, c'est
that
cool,
you
par
can't
contre, que
kill,
les ennemis,
that
ils
can
aient
go
la
faster
vie
than you. And then of course we did the
avec les petites
centipede
épées là.
bottom,
Yeah.
which I have this particular phobia of centipedes. Like,
The fact that you took something that is such a fear and
me,
put it
yeah.
front and center, honestly, like it's commendable.
I watched this video like a week ago where this dude takes a giant centipede
Oh,
and
mais les
lets it
gars.
bite him on the arm.
Why would you do that to
I
yourself?
don't know. I almost passed out like watching this video. So centipedes terrify me. And so I thought the bottom of this thing just has to be sideways centipede legs that are made out of metal, and they just grind you up when it catches you. And then the final piece of the formula for this thing really was to put a super bright light on it that would shine as a shadow caster across your, like past your body, so you can see your own shadow as you're trying to get away.
Yeah.
And honestly, like a lot of it was inspired by the anxiety that I feel, and I think folks on the team also felt when we talked about like the trope of a subway that's coming around the corner.
Right.
Right.
Do you see that finite just clock running out
It's
in front
coming.
of you?
Yep. You see the light coming, and then you see the thing.
Yeah.
And so that really helped us figure out how to make this thing as freaky as
This
possible.
time, no Indiana Jones.
Là,
laying
ils ont
down on the
rajouté
tracks hoping for the best
des
here.
brigs.
Not a chance. No.
Des brigadiers.
I was going to chew you up, honestly. So also, we found ourselves now, we're in the beginning stages here of the Whisper we can see on screen. Willie, we kind of touched on this briefly over the course of the Whisper, but can you tell us a little bit about what it was like sort of reinventing these combat spaces and these encounters for Guardians in a modern sandbox, especially those that are going to have the Brave arsenal available to them?
Yeah, so just now you saw a brig in this encounter, which there wasn't one before. I think there's the desire to keep the soul of the activity, which is that, oh, there's time pressure on me to finish this activity quickly, and also I'm going up against powerful enemies that are trying to stop me from doing that.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that the combat still felt challenging, even in today's sandbox, so we added some new combatants with the brig. And we also just increased the number of combatants, period, so that players had more to do with their more diverse and deadly tools.
Yeah, Guardians have plenty of those available to them. When you were developing these combat spaces as well, were there any moments where you really thought to yourself, like, all right, this is it. Like, we've really centered in on what was great about this mission originally, but this is going to be appropriately challenging for today's Guardians?
Yeah, I think when we play tested it, and we had everybody load up with their like new maneuverability tools, their swords, their grapples, to go through the activity, and then we were expecting that like, oh, people are going to breeze through this like it's nothing, like the original 20-minute timer has to become something else. But really, all of that translated over pretty well. Like the individual sections are self-contained enough that like you can't bypass too many things by just using one new tool.
Sure.
The whole thing sort of still felt like 0 hour, even with your new toolbox.
Yeah.
Ouais, dernière heure avec les nouvelles méta, fil obscur et tout. Je pense que ça ira, c'est le Whisper, la mission du Whisper qui sera beaucoup plus simple qu'avant, je pense.
Now's a brief chance to check it out. Also, too, is we're in a world where, there's strand grapples, there's shatter skating. When it came to kind of redesigning these activities, or even making, I guess, alterations more appropriately on these activities, with one like Trevor, for example, what was the challenge that you kind of had to overcome with those new movement tools in addition to the combat tools that players have available to them?
Yeah, I guess philosophically, I want to make sure that if people were speccing into being highly maneuverable, then I honor that choice and say, yeah, you're highly maneuverable. Like maybe you're in this hallway with Trevor. I don't want to be ground up by these centipede legs, so I'm going to sword skate through this so that I can have a little bit of speed on Trevor. But like, you still can't invalidate the challenge entirely. Trevor will still kill you if you mistime those. So they're just like different expressions of how you want to tackle these challenges, and none of those expressions like fully throw these challenges out the window.
Yeah, actually, something too that I'm seeing pop up in chat here is the mention of the timer. So for starters, there's also, this is normal difficulty, there's also legend, isn't that right? Yeah, Tom, can you tell us a little bit about like any updates to the timers in these missions as well?
So and Willie, feel free to have him correct me if I'm wrong, but on normal, it's 40 minutes because we want to give players a little bit extra time, especially if you're new. We want this to be accessible. Everyone would get in there and get the experience. But a lot of our kind of like quests, content, and secrets are in the Legend version, which has a 20-minute timer.
Oh yes, en difficulté légende, le timer c'est encore 20 minutes. Donc moi, je pense que quand ça sortira, je le ferai direct en légende.
These other updates you've made, are there anything or any changes you've made in particular that you're excited about, that you're comfortable talking about it here, or is it just you want players to dive in and find out for themselves?
Yeah, so the whole secrets setup for 0 Hour is different. So, previously we had key cards. Those have been replaced by another secret system that you'll just have to find out.
Pareil pour le vaisseau, apparemment,
And
ça va changer dans la mission dernière heure.
That's right.
Et le
we'll
boss
hold that one close to the
va
vest. Players
changer
will have a
aussi.
chance
Ça
to
c'est
see
cool,
that on their
j'ai
own
hâte
and
de
see
voir.
Willie's hard work in person very soon. Now, as we mentioned at the top of the show as well, there's going to be craftable versions of these exotics, and we're going to check them out. But there was one more example that I wanted to ask you about, Rob, in particular. There was some discussion briefly about the acronym that is Trevor. Could you tell us what that stands for?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, but I had to open my phone because it's like impossible to remember that.
We all have our notes. Yeah, it's part of the game.
So early on, the team. We just realized we had to figure out an acronym for this because we loved the name Trevor because it was paradoxical. I went to school with a kid named Trevor who was the nicest kid in the entire school. Just nice to everybody to a fault, right? So I always thought like Trevor is just the nicest name. And so paradoxically, here's this evil thing named Trevor, and we thought it was hilarious. But once we alphanumericized, is that a word?
Yeah.
Once we made that, we had to come up with the acronym. So the one that I had was Tracking Robotic 3-Vectored Reducer. Reduces, right?
C'est
Like
la traduction du nom Trevor.
But that was our internal acronym.
Yeah.
And so when we went to GuardianCon and we did like a fly-through or like a walkthrough.
Yeah.
And so the community team thought that we should let the fans of GuardianCon decide what the actual acronym for Trevor was. And so we had like the 5 different examples, and my tracking robotic was in there.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That's one of the things. I was like, please pick mine, please pick mine.
Yeah.
And so at the end, what they decided on, and they decided by loud applause, and it was like very obvious that this is what they wanted.
The committee had
Oh yeah,
spoken.
it's like very obvious.
Yeah.
What they decided on was tame, relaxed, triple vac roommate. So that's the official name for Trevor.
That's it. It's
The
codified.
acronym. Yeah.
Thank you very much to the denizens of GCX. Thank you very much for your hard work and letting us know exactly what Trevor should be called. That's really cool.
Là, ils vont nous montrer du coup les armes exo, les perks, les armes exo craftables.
At the craftable exotics as well. We're going to go ahead and start with Whisper of the Worm. Tom, can you tell us a little bit about what players who are kind of going to go ahead and facilitate their own play style or want to build a Whisper all to their own? What are they going to have to look forward to with all this?
Yeah, even before we get into the crafting, like I've got my notes here from Chris Proctor, so
you're the man himself.
Yeah, he's sitting on my shoulder, helping me out here. And we wanted to retain the fantasy of both these weapons, of both of Whisper and of Outbreak. And Whisper, it's a hard-hitting precision weapon where you're in the backfield. And if you land your crits, you're rewarded, and you can sustain a ton of damage on a boss or enemies with a large critical area.
Ogres will be felled.
Ogres will be felled. The servitors.
Don't stand a chance. Yeah.
And then with Outbreak, the fantasy is all about spreading the plague of Siva nanites.
Certainly.
And we'll be able to get to that in a minute. But
I think we're looking at Whisper right now.
Yeah. So specifically with Whisper and Outbreak for both.
Là, je suis un peu stressé parce que j'ai vraiment pas envie qu'il la ruine comme arme parce qu'elle était incroyable.
Magazine, traits, and stock options. The barrel and magazine options will let you really push the stats around. So you'll be able to have a max stability Whisper if you want.
Yeah.
Which was really advantageous for a weapon that's about this hitting repeated critical hits.
Certainly.
In an area. And then specifically for the perks on Whisper, and both the perks on Whisper and Outbreak are things
De distraction, enfin, aucune distraction, c'est vraiment bien ça par
contre. In both of these exotic missions, you'll be able to unlock them. And Whisper, it starts off with Mulligan, which is the classic perk where if you miss your shots, they get refunded. But if you upgrade it, you can get Field Prep, which will give you more shots, which equals more damage.
Yeah.
And then there's No Distractions, which will allow you to keep under fire, hold your aim on your target better. And there's also
Après, ouais, ça c'est pas mal
for
aussi.
more forgiving reloads. So there's, I think, a lot of options for players at different play styles,
Ouais.
and skill levels there.
Yeah.
And then just the kind of the cherry on top there with Whisper is that it's getting a reserves bump. So it's going to go from 18 in reserve to 24 in reserve. So you're going to have a ton of ammo to just
Ils vont
make it a
buff sa
sustained
réserve,
damage monster.
les réserves
Which
du
is
snipe, ça c'est
super
vraiment cool.
exciting.
So ultra precise players like myself who never miss a shot.
Bon,
will
ça
have even
va,
more. Why are you
l'arme
guys
ne
laughing?
change
What
pas
are you-
trop, mais
Sorry.
le
Why
fait
is
qu'elle
that
devienne
funny?
craftable, c'est vraiment bien.
No, that's really exciting.
Je suis rassuré.
So we have Whisper the Worm, in addition to Outbreak Perfected, now joining the pool of
Là,
craftable exotic
Outbreak,
weapons.
j'attends 4ème
Let's
syllabe.
take a quick look
C'est
at
tout ce que
Outbreak
je
as
veux voir.
well while we're here hanging out in the Enclave. Tom, kind of, second verse, same as the first, same question. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the perks and updates that players will have available to them with their options to craft Outbreak Perfected?
Yep, and so in addition to barrels and mags, it has its classic outlaw perk is back. So you get your fast reloads on
Quatrième
final
sabonne,
blows,
s'il te plaît,
which
ou
works
triple
really well
tap.
with Outbreak. It's all about also landing precision hits to either
Ou rewind round,
spawn
enfin le mission
nanites or
rembobiné.
to kill enemies and spawn nanites and spread that Siva energy around.
Spread the plague.
Spread the plague. And then the second one though that we're added here is rapid hit, which plays right
Ouais.
into that. So
Après,
you
par contre,
land
pour le
your
PVP,
precision
ils ont mis
shots, you get
Headseeker.
more
Hein.
stability, you get faster reloads. Then another new one
Mais
is
je vais mettre
rewind,
rapid hit, c'est pas trop mal en vrai.
Rewind rounds. It's
that
hard for me
3
to
times
say.
fast, yeah.
Try it out.
Yeah.
Which refills your reserves from to minimize your reloads. So like if you're hitting shots, you're just going to keep getting more ammo, which is really kind of interesting.
Quoique mission rembobiné.
Perpetual motion machine, no perpetual
On verra.
death
So
machine.
yeah, it's like do you want the reloads, or you just want to keep shooting?
Yeah.
And
Ça
then
peut être
there's
vraiment
also
bien
a
sur le
Headseeker,
champion, du
which I
coup.
think maybe for PvP or for certain play styles where like you're less focused on your critical shots. That's something to think about
Headseeker
as well.
en PvP.
In terms of catalysts, if you already have them, you're golden. You can craft those. If you don't, play the legend version of Whisper and 0 Hour, and you'll have a chance to get them.
Very cool.
So that's still in there. And then,
Moi,
as I
je suis
mentioned, for
satisfait.
unlocking these new intrinsic perks that you can
Très
slot
bien.
in, there'll be like a 3-week mini quest line that rolls into the secrets for each of these. And Whisper is coming at launch with Into the Light.
Exciting.
And 0 Hour is coming in May.
Perfect. Okay.
Ok,
So you have a
donc,
chance to go ahead and
dernière
sink your
heure
teeth into
arrive en
0 Hour
mai.
for a while before you
Ça,
go ahead
c'est
and change
chiant.
your attention and start
Et
unlocking
Whisper
another
arrive
one of the
dès la
storied
sortie
exotics
de
of old.
Into the Light, il y a la mission
Also,
du
it's
Whisper.
worth mentioning that there are more than just the craftable weapons available as rewards in these missions. There's some tried and true ships. Now, we were talking a little bit about this earlier, but as someone who still to this day wears 1,000 wings.
You and me?
Yeah,
Non,
like
les
we
vaisseaux,
know
ils vont les
the
remettre.
feeling of getting that ship and finally having that I was there moment. The ships are making a return as well, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Oh
Okay,
non,
so
il faut
for
revenir les
both
vaisseaux.
Whisper and for 0 Hour, they're coming back. Is it the
Mon
exact
vaisseau.
same ship, or are there going to be changes on them?
No, these are actually new assets, right? Those
Ah,
are
non.
new ships, so they
C'est
won't
des nouveaux
be the
vaisseaux.
same. They won't sit in the same spot in your inventory, and they are updated to look really cool and new. And I think they're exciting, especially we took the old scrap drifter ship that was, I think. Not really loved particularly by the community because it was literally scrapped together from spare parts to get built, and so we did a really nice pass on that. So it's inspired by the look of Outbreak Perfected, and
Oh, par contre,
I
le
think it looks great. I
vaisseau
think the community is going to love it.
de la dernière heure, si
And
c'est le
then we
vaisseau
have
du
the
raid.
Whisper ship, 1,000 Wings. It's got a new design, so
Ok.
you'll still have your old 1,000 Wings.
Yes, c'est pas les
And
mêmes.
if you have that equipped, players are going to know that you're OG and that you got it back in the day.
Ok, nickel,
And
nickel.
the
C'est
new
pas
one
les
is going
mêmes
to look
vaisseaux.
like the new one, so there won't be any mistaking the old one for the new one.
En fait, ce sera les mêmes vaisseaux, mais avec des
So
nouveaux
for players who
designs.
want to go ahead and continue to build up their collections,
Yeah.
there's a chance to go ahead and dive back in.
Yeah.
Maybe they weren't there originally, but they want to go ahead and join the 1,000 Wings Club.
On
to
peut les
a degree.
voir, s'il vous plaît, du coup.
Excellent. So there'll be a chance to go ahead and unlock those as well.
Non, on n'a pas le droit de les
Excellent. Well,
voir,
I think
apparemment.
we are actually about at the point of the show. We're going to go ahead and get ready to rotate over to the PvP map pack. But for starters,
montrez-moi les maps PvP.
let's go ahead and make sure we thank our incredible team of playtesters here, going ahead and showing off the missions for us. Ashley, Peyton, and Michael, thank you all so much. Very much. There we go. We're getting some waves from the backstage. Thank you all so much for the time. And of course, Willie, I think this is unfortunately the time now we bid you adieu to go ahead and transition into the PvP
Thanks
map.
for having
See
me.
you soon.
Awesome. Willie, thank you so much. All right, we are now joined by another member of the Bungie development team, a staff artist here who has helped made many of the PvP maps that you've also known and loved, the one and only Mr. Cooley Callahan. Cooley, welcome to the show, man.
Guys, how's it going? Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Je sais pas qui
It's
c'est.
been so long.
Yeah, it has. It's been a minute.
Look at us, right? Who would've thought? Yeah.
That's full circle.
Yeah. Now, we were talking a little bit before the show about Cooley. I'm going to go ahead and do us all a favor and put Cooley on the spot to a degree. Rob, we were talking a bit about Cooley's history.
We were.
Here. Can you tell us a little bit about the man sitting just to your left, the contributions he's made to the PvP pantheon?
Yeah, well, one of the things that was really important for us was to make sure that the strike team was stacked, that we had the best designers on the strike team. And so Cooley is certainly one of those. He's a 6-year veteran of the PvP team who shipped over 11 maps.
Yeah.
A lot of them are fan favorites, and I'm not going to steal any more of Cooley's thunder. I'll just let him talk about some of that.
Yeah, it's not everyone's a banger. I mean, there's definitely some maps that people would want some words with me, but I
We'll
think,
save that for later. But what are some of the
just
bangers?
come find me. It's I think Burning Shrine, which is now Burnout. It's such a classic map. It's a Trials favorite. And then Midtown is another map that turned out really well. We built that for Countdown, but I was just chatting with another Destiny fan at the dog park the other day, talking about how well that map supports all of the different engagement ranges, which is definitely something that we try to do. We try to create places for players to use their favorite tools.
Yeah. Now with the maps, we're going to be looking at 3 of them today with kind of a primary focus on, you were mentioning earlier, I think it was the 3v3 kind of competitive side of things was sort of a focus for these maps.
Mais tant qu'ils changent pas la méthode en PvP, je ne remets pas les pieds en PvP. Je ne remets pas les pieds en PvP.
Gameplay experience with new maps, tweaks to the modifiers of some of the modes, and so we, in our play testing, really focused on the competitive playlist and really centered and put those experiences at the forefront. And then, all Destiny maps, can suit a variety of modes. So we also made sure they worked elsewhere. But for the most part, we really did want to provide new experiences and just breathe a little bit of new life into the higher, maybe a little bit sweatier gameplay.
So weird how you were staring directly at me when you said sweaty, but that's fine. We'll let it go for now. Actually, briefly too on that topic before we kind of go into the guided tour of these maps. Having had so much time to sort of be a part of building the tapestry that so much of our PvP happens on, what were some of the key lessons that you've kind of taken away from having built those maps and seen them go through everything from trials to quick play and bringing forward those lessons into these maps?
Yeah, I think one thing that is always at the forefront of our minds is trying to strike that balance between providing the playground for players to express themselves and express their Guardian and their play style. So a lot of verticality, a lot of movement, and then balancing that with making sure players understand where they're getting shot from, and creating a satisfying PvP engagement that doesn't leave players cursing the map or feeling like they don't understand why they died. So we want to make sure that players have we want to provide a choice for players that's always available to them to riff and to work with their team to use the map to their advantage. So it's a balancing like a complex gameplay space that allows a lot of movement and freedom without opening it up so much that you're not understanding like, geez, I can get shot from so many different places.
Certainly.
So we really, it's a little bit of back and forth. We'll open it up, we'll try some things. Especially this time around, we tried some stuff and got into the weeds a little bit. But I think that's all part of the discovery process of finding the gameplay that we want to create. And so we go a little further, maybe too far in the openness and Swiss cheese, and then we bring it back and make it a little bit more focused and really dial in the engagements that we want.
Bon, en gros, ils sont en train de dire que les maps sont plus petites, plus serrées, mais qu'en même temps, par exemple, si tu veux jouer à l'éclaireur, tu pourras jouer à l'éclaireur.
We got the first of 3 maps to go ahead and show off. This is we have one on Europa, one on Neomuna, and then one on one of the pyramid ships in Essence, I believe is the name of the location. So this is the first one. This is here on Europa. Cooley, can you tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here today, or where we are?
Yes, so this map is called Eventide Labs, and this is a long-forgotten human colony research outpost on Europa.
5 minutes left.
And
Keep it up.
it just so happens that Aramis has chosen this location as a refueling station for her catch. So here you'll see, perched just above the horizon is her catch in the.
Mais ça c'est pas le catch des Vigris, c'est notre catch à nous dans.
We have a servitor over here that's hooked up to the catch to provide that ether that the Elixni need. And so we really wanted to situate the maps in the universe and draw on that deep Destiny lore. But yeah, we definitely have a presence of Fallen here, set amongst the abandoned human, ice-encrusted structures of the past, which has been a really fun environment to work on. We definitely want to bring in as many new palettes as possible because there's so much great environment art content, and the palettes are really cool, and we want to use those in PvP wherever we can. Just to, the different palettes have different character that leads to different gameplay spaces.
Also, when it comes to kind of finding these maps of place in the world, Rob, having kind of looking at through an artistic lens, what were some of the challenges or even kind of exciting opportunities potentially of finding, new places for these maps to live in the more modern era of Destiny that we've been experiencing more recently?
Well, we really wanted to make sure that when we do an update like this, it's
Alors pour l'instant j'aime bien la map, mais j'ai peur qu'elle fasse un peu comme la map cathédrale avec tous les petits couloirs là.
We had 3 distinctly different places and places that players haven't seen a bunch of times. So fortunately we had these available to us, and I'm looking at it again now. I mean, I'm not getting sick of looking at this. The team does such a good job.
It's gorgeous. This is, one of the cool things is just how purposeful everything feels in the world. The art team always pushes it so far where it really feels like you're walking into a truly recently defunct, human colony or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and the frozen world of Europa, I mean, they all have their advantages for PvP, but the frozen ice walls of Europa are perfect for multiplayer, and I'm sure Cooley's going to talk about this a bunch.
Yeah, actually, also too, Cooley, if you wouldn't mind, as people who have heard me talk too much about Destiny PvP would know, Dead Man's Tale and I get along a lot. Can you tell us a little bit maybe about some of the sightlines or opportunities that I'll have to maybe rack up some additional kills as I dive into this map the first time?
Totally. If long range is your thing, this spot out here is definitely the place for you. There's one spawn that happens for one team over by C and then one over by A, and so in these competitive modes, if you've got an objective out here, this sightline is really important to lock down. So this is a spot where you're going to have 2 teams poking and peeking each other, and then rushing over here to try to get to this zone and lock it down. And if you're rolling with that long range kit, you can hang back and sort of lock down this airspace here so that you can provide cover and maybe support your team from being harassed down on this point.
God, this is fantastic.
We also have sort of this the sightline in the middle, which will be pretty fun. It's definitely going to be a race for each player or each team to kind of get to this spot and lock down this sort of portal here.
Que ça peut être amusant en vrai comme map. Je retire peut-être ce que j'ai dit par rapport à la map cathédrale.
But as you can see, there's lots of ways for players to come in and flank. So if you're holding this space, you'll really not.
Non, c'est plutôt la map. Ça me fait plutôt penser à la map sur la Lune avec tous les petits souterrains et tout cachés.
Make sure you throw those grenades right off of the rip.
Comment ça s'appelle? Anomalie.
To try and conquer that territory as best you can.
Yeah, one of the things I love about these ice caves is, it provides a lot of opportunity for grenades, like trip mines, and to bounce things off of the back of the walls. And the shapes here are just really fun to play with.
Awesome. All right, so this is one of 3 maps. Let's go ahead and prepare to go ahead and move on to the next one here really quickly. We've got coming up next Neomuna as well. So finding a place on Neomuna, obviously, that makes sense for PvP probably seems pretty natural, honestly, given just like how rich and vibrant and exciting of a place it is. What was it like, even starting from an artistic standpoint on this map, Rob?
This was a really exciting map for the team. It's a shopping/entertainment center for the exos on Neomuna. And, so there's a lot of really fun decoration, and the spaces have a lot of character to them. There's a lot of recognizable things, human scale things that, look relatable. And we don't always get that in all of our palettes. And so this is also an opportunity for us to have a really clean architectural map that has a lot of crisp edges.
Elle me fait penser à la map sur Titan Havre des Verts, mais en 3 fois plus jolie.
Definitely the more competitive players and the more PvP diehards, they really take to this map, and it's an instant hit. People are, just right away pleased with, how readable the map is. It's one of those maps that you play a couple times and you get it, like you understand that it's all about this center atrium room that is really open. And
elle est géniale, elle est super belle.
And then there's this area down here, which is where a lot of objectives spawn, and there's some special ammo down here. But then there's also this place over here where the heavy ammo spawns, and players will oftentimes just pop up here to do a quick check and maybe like try to get a cheeky kill on somebody who's maybe running from cover to cover, but you can't hang out here for very long because you've got so many different angles at which you can get shot from.
Non, celle-là, j'adore comme map.
That's kind of like that balance of what I was talking about before. Like we want to provide that, but we want to make sure that it's not too powerful, or you know, it's a risk reward, right? You're making a trade-off, and you know, the players who are using the map well and who understand the map will you know, be able to use it to their advantage.
Yeah, actually also too, to kind of focus on the readability, I remember overhearing some discussions with you designers talking about the clean zone in PvP. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how it kind of helped inform the design of this map?
Yeah, definitely. I think the clean zone is something that, you know, a lot of developers really use to sort of create this space for the player to pop, right? To like really stand out from the environment. And so for us, it's about where the player's head height is. And this map is, you know, just one of the examples of how it can really provide for a good PvP experience to have this sort of mark on the wall where you can kind of expect players to reside in.
Yeah. Till they jump around and strands suspend you in the air and you're just left there cursing the heavens for a little while. Yeah. Maybe I'm speaking on my own behalf. This is looking fantastic. Yeah, this is, I will say, one of the maps that, having done a little bit of playtesting myself, I still have to give you credit for perhaps one of the most diabolical heavy weapon spawns, or heavy ammo spawns, rather, I should see, in any PvP map. Like the sheer amount of risk reward that goes into just making your way safely, or so you think, out to that particular territory.
Right.
You know, as you guys were even building that balance in of these consumables on the map, Cooley, what was it like sort of having that process evolve or grow?
Yeah. You know, typically when we start laying out a map, we just kind of start with control because it's a good base point. It requires 3, you know, very well-defined combat pockets that have an objective in them. But then from there, we start mapping out the other objectives that might exist on a map.
Par contre, il y a des distributeurs de munitions spéciales apparemment maintenant, donc ils vont retirer ils vont retirer leur système. C'est encore pire.
We kind of map those things out, and it's sort of a formula.
Je pas le système de D1, c'était nul à chier.
Sort of a order of operations, so to speak, of you start with, you know, these big strokes, you go to the next stage and start making sure that you've got, you know, space and combat pockets for,
et tout au bout, ils disent que c'est là l'endroit où les munitions spéciales vont spawn. Les gars, s'il vous plaît, laissez-moi jouer normalement.
Excellent. All right, and we've got one more map to check out as well. For all the fine folks at home, we're going to continue our guided tour, and we're going to make our way over to Essence, to one of the pyramid ships, to check out the final PvP map that'll be releasing in this pack. As we're flying in, I gotta give you guys credit. Like the space that exists inside those pyramid ships that's being terraformed by the Traveler looks just absolutely incredible. But this is the first time you guys have had a chance to really flex your muscles and build a PvP map out here. You know, Rob, just to start from your perspective as we load in, what was it like developing this, you know, playground for Guardians that's kind of so deep in the enemy's backyard?
I think it was really tough. You know, like I remember there were quite a few iterations of this map, and I know Cooley's going to go into more detail, but like from a high level, it's a pretty inherently noisy palette. You know, Cooley was talking about the clean zone. There's some palettes in the game that are just very visually noisy. So the geometry is noisy. They create a lot of shadow and a lot of highlights just by the geometry itself. And then the textures, the shaders that are on the geometry, those can be noisy.
Yeah.
And then there's the clutter of the palette. So when you have an environment with a lot of entropy,
oh, elle a l'air magnifique aussi.
Rubble everywhere, there's like garbage strewn around or plants hanging down, like we often do in Destiny. We have to declutter some of like the European
J'aimerais bien voir un côté genre ténèbres, un côté lumière. Et genre la zone B au milieu, c'est un mélange des deux.
Fairly entropic, high clutter palettes that the team had to kind of wrangle into shape.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Cooley's going to talk about that process because it was quite a process.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, Cooley, I'd love to continue and just start there. You know, taking this space on a pyramid ship and kind of making it suitable for a PvP map. What was that process like from your perspective, kind of from more of a design side?
Yeah, it's again a process of back and forth. You know, we start with mass out, and mass out is the simplest and cleanest a map will ever be. And you know, from there we start developing the spatial character of the map, and one of the things we like to ask ourselves is, what is this place? And even with a more abstract palette like the Essence ship, it's worth asking that question because we can leverage spatial archetypes that just kind of like naturally resonate with people. So like here we have, in this map, we have sort of these dueling huts, or these dueling ziggurats, and inside of them is this artifact or shrine. So maybe this is like maybe this part of the ship is a collection of mysterious artifacts that the witness has collected. And so we lean on those things to give a little bit of rhyme and reason to a space that otherwise is completely abstract. And that is also really useful for us in terms of we can make any kind of space we want. Like, we're not limited by architectural constraints, but you know, it can be tough sometimes to orient players in the map when you don't have things like doors or, you know, like TVs or you know, any sort of, you know, human scale architectural pieces that kind of clue you in. So, yeah.
It's also too is I remember we were talking a little bit before the show, Rob, even about, you know, what it was like from a design standpoint and bringing in external testers to try these maps out for the first time. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and kind of, as you I think phrased it, discovering your own blind spots?
Yeah, well, we've done this before for years, really, and we did it again here, and it was, I think, really successful because, you know, it was 2 days. They ran through these maps when they were still in development. They weren't too far enough along where we couldn't make some pivots that we needed to.
Yeah.
And they found a lot of stuff. I mean, for this map, for example, we thought it was in a pretty good place.
Yeah.
And a lot of things were called out. They didn't pull any punches. They were honest and clear and constructive with the feedback. And it wasn't super easy to hear it all, but you know, when the team listened to it and we took tons of notes.
Ouais,
it was
mais
also about,
il y a des distributeurs d'éditions spéciales. Les gars, c'est quoi cette merde?
But
Vous faites quoi avec
lots
votre
and lots
méta
of map
PVP à la
feedback.
con
It was
là?
incredibly useful. And you know, just another lesson in what we don't
Après,
see.
c'est que mon avis.
You know, and it's so valuable to do that. And these, I can't say who they were, but they're very well-known community players.
Maybe some folks in chat, who knows?
Yeah, but you know, we really were careful
Ça a
about
intérêt à m'en
who
donner
we
plein,
brought in
des
because we wanted people
spéciales
that would
s'ils
be
font ça.
very pragmatic. You know, they weren't interested in
J'avoue
their
au moins
own
4 dans mon fusil à
YouTube
pompe.
monetization strategy or how they particularly make content. They wanted the game to be in a great place. They wanted
Et au moins
PvP
10
to
dans
be
mon
in a great
sniper.
place for the community and for Destiny.
Absolutely.
Right? And they were carefully selected that way, and great communicators who could articulate the feedback. They could really speak to what they were experiencing and what we could do to fix what they were experiencing. And I'd like, Cooley can probably say what he thinks about it too, but I was just blown away by how valuable that was, and we definitely want to keep doing that.
Certainly, yeah. Cooley, can you tell us a little bit more about that experience on your side as well?
Totally. I mean, it's so fun to, like, those are some of my favorite moments when we can get a bunch of you know, super fans from the community in and show them work in progress stuff, and they can actually give us real actionable feedback that we take back to our desks and talk about it, and we discuss how can we you know, sort of take their feedback and move forward. And this content is for them in a big way, right? Like, we need their approval. Like, we absolutely, you know, that's our mark. That's our goal, is to you know, create content that they're going to love playing and that they're excited to play and that their
Il y a une
communities
activité
are
là,
gonna
les nouveaux
get
défis
excited to
PvE là,
play
ils en ont
and
pas encore parlé.
sort of learn together and build strategies for. You know, that's the funnest part of the job.
Yeah, I mean, also, you know, Cooley, on your side in general, what are you most excited for players to experience once this gets out into the world with Into the Light?
Yeah, I'm excited to see these maps rotate into trials. I'm excited for players to have a totally new trials experience that, you know, is going to be a sort of an experience of discovery of these new spaces and new strategies, and for players to also, you know, the meta isn't really formed yet. I mean, like, we sort of know how the map plays, but it's always a fun surprise to see in the wild just how the map ends up sorting out and what people end up doing, and you know, we're really looking forward to just watching what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I count myself among the many that are excited to go ahead and dive on in, having more playgrounds to go ahead and dive on in on trials, no matter what the case is, to maybe try and go ahead and actually get some more competitive rank. Cooley, thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through these today. We really appreciate it.
Anytime, my pleasure.
Excellent. And all right, well, we'll go ahead and use that as a moment to conclude the quick tour of as well of the PvP maps. We got a quick question from chat from Jake Asor asking about, are we going to get a playlist or mode that'll be just these new maps during Into the Light? And the answer is yes. When they launch on May 7th, we'll have a 3v3 playlist to go ahead and talk just about these items. I'd rather let you play just those maps. Rather, we're talking about them today. They're all going to be playing them very shortly. All right, well, that so far wraps up the first 2 segments of our show. But we've got, as I mentioned at the top, a few more announcements for you as well. So you may have heard us mention the word Pantheon in the TWID last week, or even on the show here last week potentially as well. We have got a brand new raid boss gauntlet rather, starting on April 30th. Now there will be more information about this in the upcoming TWID. You'll have more details to dig into shortly, but you will have the Pantheon coming up, where you'll have an opportunity to face grueling raid bosses in a weekly challenge with escalating difficulties and rewards. Now, this is a chance for you to go ahead and rally your clan or the perfect fire team with Fire Team Finder, if you're able to track them down, to go ahead and track down those exotics, adept weapons, any emblems you may not have gotten your hands on. But we have more details for that in the coming weeks. Keep an eye on the TWID. Cosmo and the community team, thank you for your hard work.
Non, ils vont en parler dans un TWAB. Non, je vais les voir maintenant.
When you dive on in on April 9th, actually, rather, before we get there, I'm sorry, we will have the opportunity to also, you'll have the opportunity to get a title through your course of Into the Light as well. So if you dive on in, go ahead and unlock all the triumphs associated with the seal. You'll be able to march into the final shape with a brand new title, Brave, as well. So make sure, go ahead and get those big challenges bit off, that we can handle them as early as you possibly can, and let the witness know that you're on the way. And we have 3 really, really cool things hitting on April 9th when Into the Light launches. The first one is, if you're a new player, you got a buddy who's just jumping into the game for the first time, and you'd rather not hang out with Shahan and the Cosmodrome, then you have an opportunity to go ahead and just join the front lines. You can skip the New Light campaign, give Shahan maybe a high five on the way out, ask him for a weekly bounty when you're back later, but you have a chance to go ahead and meet up with your friends, head to the Hall of Champions, grab the Gift of the Thunderlords if you so choose, and get ready for battle alongside them. So you'll be able to go ahead and grab some of
joueurs,
j'ai
pas trop écouté, mais moi ça m'intéresse pas, donc je regarderai précisément plus tard.
There'll be a chance to go ahead and dive on into everything you're seeing with Into the Light here. Also, we have a couple more things. We have some questions in chat about this as well from Idzepski and Atlas Live TV, but on 4.9, you'll have the opportunity to also change the way your character looks. So you'll be able to go ahead and change your hair if you didn't like your haircut. If you want to go ahead and change your face paint, if you want to go ahead and risk it to be one of those guardians who goes helmetless in the tower. I'm not sure if I'm brave enough, but I know many of you are. Your chance will be arriving very soon with Into the Light. And there will also be an opportunity to change your name. So Guardian 4681 out there, with the launch of Into the Light, we're also going to give you one more name change token. If you already have yours sitting around, I believe you have 2, but our friends in DPS will be able to answer that question for you. But you'll have that chance as well once Into the Light launches. Now, there's a lot, but we also have one more thing for all of you. Next week, we're going to be joining you again for a special developer preview of some gameplay for Destiny 2: The Final Shape. It'll be here, wherever you're watching live, you'll be able to go ahead and watch it April 9th at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Where you'll get a chance to basically, again, get a look behind the scenes. The developers have been hard at work for some cool stuff that you are definitely not going to want to miss. And over the course of that show, Twitch drops will be live. So there'll be another emblem, which you can see here live on the screen, that'll be available after about 15 minutes of view time. If you haven't gone ahead and also unlocked the emblems that you got as a result of this show, or that we're having available during the Into the Light streams, then you have a chance to go ahead and spend some more time unlocking those as well. But that does it. For starters, to all of you Guardians out there in chat, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We're thrilled about what we've been able to show off and thrilled about what the team's been working on for Into the Light. So thank you for taking the time to join us. Chat, we see you out there having a good time, so thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. Also, it goes without saying, but we'll go ahead and do so anyway, to the incredible team here at Bungie, building Into the Light, making all of this, the teams that you guys have been kind enough to represent. Thank you all so much for all of your hard work. We're nothing without the entire teams that we have here. Teams are obviously greater than heroes, and we're firm believers in that, and you're all great examples of that whole scenario. To our play testers as well that have helped us bring this show to life, to Ashley, Peyton, and Michael here behind the scenes, thank you so much for showing off some of the cool content, and of course all of our guests, to Tom, to Rob, to Cooley, to Willie, to Noah, to Kelsey. I'm not forgetting anyone, am I?
Chris.
To Chris, thank you. To the one and only Mr. Chris Proctor as well. Thank you all for joining us. And now that is about it. So we're going to keep the stream here live until about 11:30, I believe, so you can go ahead and get a little bit more time racking up the last bits of those emblems. But in the meantime, that's it for all of us here at Bungie. Oh, also, I'm sorry, to the team of producers here, everyone here that makes this show possible, they have the challenge of making me look good on camera, so obviously their work is cut out for them. Thank you all so much for helping bring this show to life. And now, finally, we're going to go ahead and sign off, and reminder, Into the Light launches next week. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you all Starside.
Bon, du coup, les 3 maps PVP, je vais mettre pause parce que c'est un peu fort. Les 3 nouvelles maps PVP, je les ferai pas en vidéo, mais j'ai très hâte de les tester. Les 2 missions Whisper et Dernière Heure, ça je les ferai en vidéo. Je pense pas que je ferai de tuto dessus parce que j'ai pas le temps. Mais je les ferai en vidéo. Donc n'hésitez pas à vous abonner et à suivre ma chaîne Twitch parce que je le ferai en live. Qu'est-ce que je voulais dire d'autre? Le truc nouvelle activité PvE là, le Panthéon ou je sais pas trop quoi, où il y aura des boss de raid, j'ai pas trop compris ce que c'était parce qu'ils ont dit qu'ils allaient en parler dans le prochain TWAB. Pareil, je ferai ça en vidéo, donc chaîne YouTube, Twitch, suivez, c'est parce que je commencerai en live sur Twitch et il y aura la rediff après sur YouTube. Et qu'est-ce qu'ils ont dit d'autre? Oui, la semaine prochaine, trailer de gameplay de The Final Shape. Donc, il y aura la vidéo avec ma réaction sur ma chaîne, pas sur Twitch, mais sur ma chaîne YouTube. Je vous préviens, je vais crier parce que chaque fois devant leur trailer, je suis extrêmement dur en bas. Enfin, vous avez compris la blague. Et du coup, c'est à peu près tout. Voilà, donc je suis très excité, très content, très impatient d'être la semaine prochaine pour voir tout ça et tout découvrir. Donc suivez-moi sur YouTube, suivez-moi sur Twitch pour rien rater si mes vidéos vous plaisent. Et du coup, à la semaine prochaine, abonnez-vous, mettez un j'aime, commentez, donnez-moi votre avis. À la semaine prochaine.